Hi everyone, welcome to my channel, Rising a Bodhisattva. This is Nancy from International Buddha Dharma Society for Cosmic Law in America. Today is July 23rd. There are so many things going on around the world. There are contradictions between countries, between religions, and the situation are changing very fast. Some people might facing bad situations. Many people might be losing jobs. Parents are losing jobs. Many people may be losing place to live. But here we are in our small world, pray for these people and pray for all the countries. Today, we will talk about the Four Noble Truths. Before the talk, please join your palms and say with me. Namo Shakyamuni Buddha. Namo Shakyamuni Buddha. Namo Shakyamuni Buddha. So, what are the Four Noble Truths? Truth means non-inversion. Noble truth means absolute truth that is known to the noble ones. The Four Noble Truths are the noble truth of suffering, the noble truth of the cause of suffering, the noble truth of the end of suffering or cessation of suffering, and the noble truth of the path that frees us from suffering, that leads us to liberation. These are the Four Noble Truths. After Buddha was enlightened, he thought, who should I teach the truth that I just realized? Then he knew that the 5 people who were cultivating with him in the forest, he remembered them, and he thought that the time should be right for them. They should know, they should understand the truth that I realized. And he knew that they were in the deer park, so he decided to go to the deer park. After he arrived at deer park, the five men who were sitting there, they stood up, they stared at the Buddha, and they were amazed by his appearance, because as the Buddha was enlightened, his appearance was majestic. So they just stood there, admire him. The Buddha said to them, he said, Ajahn Kwandiya, which is one of his disciples' name, who were once the Buddha's teacher in the palace. He said, Ajahn Kwandiya, do you know why we practice? We practice to cast aside sufferings. The world is full of suffering. There's natural disasters of water, wind, earth. There are also all matters of dissatisfaction and unattainable goals that disturb our peace. In addition, there are aging, illness, and death. And all these sufferings strike our body and our mind. These are all great suffering, the dukkha of this world. Suffering is all caused by the self. All the beings are attached to the idea of self. And from the self arises greed, anger, ignorance, which is the cause of suffering. So if one wishes to be free of suffering, one should take the path. Only by practicing the path can we reach the end of suffering, the cessation of suffering, the liberation, the tranquility, the nirvana. After hearing the Buddha's words, the 5 men were shocked because they had never heard anything like this. And they were convinced that the Buddha realized the truth. So they were eager to listen more. They stood there and they wanted more. And the Buddha said, Adnanta Kwandiya, hear my words. And this is the first time, the first turning of the Dharma Wheel of the Four Noble Truths. The Buddha said, hear my words. There is suffering, which is oppressive. There is a cause of suffering, which beckons. There is a cessation of suffering, which is attainable. And there is a path, which can be practiced. And this is the first turning of the Dharma Wheel. The Buddha shows this, the Four Noble Truths, to his first 5 disciples, the 5 men who stayed with him for many years. And then the Buddha said, remember well. This is the second turning of the Dharma Wheel. The Buddha said, remember well. There is suffering which should be understood. There is a cause of suffering which should be ended. There is cessation of suffering which should be realized. And there is a path which should be practiced. So the second time, when the Buddha turned the Dharma Wheel, the Buddha persuaded the 5 disciples to take the path to practice the Four Noble Truths. And then the Buddha also, there's the third time that Buddha turned the Dharma Wheel. The Buddha said, for there is suffering which I have understood. There is a cause of suffering which I have ended. There is cessation of suffering which I have attained. For there is a path which I have practiced. The third time the Buddha turned the Dharma Wheel, the Buddha said, I have done this, so you should do the same. The Buddha continued, the Four Noble Truths, the suffering, the cessation of suffering, the cause of suffering, and the path. If you don't know the Four Noble Truths, then it's not possible for you to realize the truth. Then liberation is not possible. So, to get out the cycle of birth and death, the first priority is to know the suffering, to be aware of the suffering in the world. This is the first priority. A couple of weeks ago, one of my friends, he said to me, many times, there are times that he felt sad, very sad inside. The pain, he can feel the pain inside. So I told him, it is good to feel the pain. The terrible thing is not feeling anything, muddle-headed. If you don't feel the pain, if you think, okay, my family is harmonious, my wife or my husband love me so much, my kids are super good, my life is super great. If you think your life here is very good, how can you get out? You're bound, you're attached here, you're stuck here. Only when you feel the dukkha, the suffering of this world, can you have the motivation to get out. Feeling the suffering is the seed to liberation. When the Buddha was still Prince Siddhartha, he was in the palace. He was lack of nothing, but often he felt ignorance, unease inside. When he saw the illness, the death, the aging outside the palace, then he renounced his family and went to the forest to practice the asceticism. He wanted to find a solution to solve all these problems, to solve all these sufferings. So feeling the suffering, saw the suffering is the first step. The Buddha said, the world is a burning house. If you don't see this, then you cannot get out. You want to stay here. Like the pigs, you see the pigs in the pig pen. They're happy as long as they have food to eat, they have drink, they have water to drink, and they have mud to play. Until the last moment, when they are facing being slaughtered, then fear, only then their fear arises. But it's too late. You cannot wait to the last minute. We all should stare at the last stage of our life, because the last stage of our life are full of great dukkha, because that's aging, that's illness, and at the end, the death. We should see that and prepare for that. So we all should be aware of the sufferings of this world, and we all should take the path to cease, to end the suffering. That's the meaning of life. This is our talk today. I hope everyone can make good use of your time, contemplate on these words. Don't indulge yourself to happiness of your life, because those might paralyze our mind and block us to see the truth of life. Which is the truth? The truth is suffering. Happiness will paralyze us. I wish all of you can see this, realize this, and prepare for this, and practice. At the end, please join your palms, and we will recite the words of transference of merit together to transfer the merit from this talk. May the merit and virtue accrued from this work adorn the Buddha's Pure Lands, repaying 4 kinds of kindness above and aiding those suffering in the path below. May those who see and hear all this all bring forth the result for Buddha, and when this retribution body is over, be born together in ultimate bliss. Namo Amitabha. Thank you, everyone, for being here, listening to this Dharma talk. See you next time. Bye.